And this is an argument that some of you have heard before. Some of you heard it from Josh McDowell, others from C.S. Lewis before him. It goes back to Pascal before him, and it goes back before him to an ancient Latin dictum. If I can remember my Latin here, I'll tell you the translation. Here it is. Cur deus, cur homo malus. Either God or a bad man. In other words, given the claims that Jesus made about himself, he was either right about the claims or he was wrong about the claims. No other options. If he was wrong, he either knew he was mistaken or he didn't know that he was mistaken. That is, he was either right or he was wrong and lied, or he was wrong and he thought he was God, he thought he was the maker of the universe, he thought he was the source of all human salvation, and he wasn't. So he was either the Lord, in the popular way of putting this, a liar, or, let's face it, a what?
Lunatic.
A lunatic. Now, I don't know of any other options given the historical record. So, what is the most reasonable conclusion to come to regarding Jesus of Nazareth? Is it most reasonable to think that he was a liar? That the person who gave some of the greatest moral teaching the world has ever seen, actually based his life on a lie? Actually, it would be worse than being a liar, because he encouraged people to put their confidence in him for his eternal destiny. And not only that, he'd be a fool, because he carried the lie all the way to a brutal execution of crucifixion. Does that make sense that Jesus was telling a lie? It doesn't strike me as being the best alternative. Let's just leave it at that. All right, well, what about the second alternative? That he was not lying, but he still was wrong. He was just mentally ill. He was out of his mind. He was a paranoid schizophrenic with delusions of grandeur. Well, I heard one person's response that I thought was the best response to that particular challenge. If Jesus is nuts, where does that leave you and I? Here's a guy who moved towards reality, not away from reality. That in the most difficult of circumstances demonstrated equanimity, evenness of temperament. He handled the tough times with grace. He's the kind of guy we look up to and lean on, if for nothing more than as a model to us when things get nutty for us. Do you ever have a really, really miserable year and find comfort just in reading Jesus? This man is crazy? Is that the best explanation for the life of Jesus? I don't think so. But if he's not lying, if he's not nuts, there is no other alternative left to us than that he is the one he claimed to be. Cambridge scholar C.S. Lewis puts it this way: either this man was and is the Son of God, or else a madman, or something worse. You can shut him up as a fool. You can spit on him and kill him as a demon. Or you can fall at his feet and you can call him Lord and God. But let's not come up with any of this patronizing nonsense about his being a great human teacher. He has not left that open to us. He did not intend to. Now, if Jesus is a reliable authority, we have to face the fact that Jesus was not a pluralist. He was a Torah-observant Jew, for which the first of the 10 great commandments was, I am the Lord your God, you should have no other God before me. He did not believe all religions lead to God. He did not teach that all religions are equally valid. And if I were choosing a religion, I would want to find a religion that had the kind of unimpeachable authority that Jesus of Nazareth had to speak on these issues, because he didn't just say it. He didn't just have words that were the kind of words that no man has heard before. People went to arrest him, they came back empty-handed. Where's Jesus? Couldn't take him. Nobody speaks as this man speaks. You got to hear the guy. He worked miracles. He did the very kinds of things you'd expect anybody to do if he was the person Jesus himself claimed to be. He had the power over life and death, power over nature. And then finally, he raised himself from the dead. Anybody who can do that has got my vote. So when it comes to the question of which religion is true, we have some tools. You need to use a principle of, does that make sense? Does it comport with reason? Does it hold together in a consistent way? When you search for the true religion, you have to ask, does it help us explain the world as it really is? And you have to ask whether your religious view is based on a reliable authority. I think it's obvious that religious pluralism is false. It's contradictory. It may be that no religion is true, but it can't be that all religions are true. And if Christianity, the view that comports with reason, the view that seems to fit the world as we experience it ourselves and resonates with our deepest intuitions about the world, and is, in a sense, underwritten by the person, the greatest person of history himself, Jesus of Nazareth, then we have to face the facts that someday that resurrection will happen of all people. Someday we will stand before not just God in some kind of general sense, but if my reading of Jesus is right, before Jesus himself. Revelation 20:11, I saw a great white throne and him who sat upon it, from whose presence earth and heaven fled away. No place was found for them, and I saw the dead, the great and the small, standing before the throne, and the books were opened. And another book was opened, which is the book of life, and the dead were judged from the things which were written in the book of life. And death and Hades gave up the dead which were in them, and they were judged, and everyone according to their deeds. And everyone who was judged, death and Hades, were thrown into the lake of fire. And if anyone's name was not written in the book of life, they were thrown in the lake of fire. You say, oh, now you're trying to scare me. Yes, but with the truth. Let me put it simply. If Jesus is right, one day you will stand before God in judgment. Jesus said that every idle word you speak, you'll be held accountable for. And you will be found guilty, and I suspect most of you know that. And when that time comes, and it will come, any old God won't do. The only thing that will save you from the punishment of the lake of fire when the gavel falls is the true God, Jesus of Nazareth. Which is precisely why I've chosen to follow him. And I think everyone should. Now, what I'd like to do is I'd like to take some questions and interaction with the audience.